real role of government is to act. I am of the view that the time for talk is over. I am about action. We will talk after.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness announcing plans to arrest crime. One of those plans takes effect today as the police and the Transport Authority will be taking a zero-tolerance approach to tinted public passenger vehicles. Mr. Holness also unveiled immediate actions to tackle domestic and sexual abuse, grooming of minors and child pornography. Stay with us as we give you more details in today's edition of Jamaica Magazine.
It's time for us to get it right. Equal rights and justice for our men and women. Equality.
Good day, I'm Carrie Ann Smith and this is your JIS News for Monday, February 13. With police case files showing that more than 50% of crimes committed against women were carried out by offenders known to them, the police says it will be ramping up its public education campaign. Acting Commissioner of Police Novelet Grant says the drive is in a bid to reduce the risk of victimization. Police Commissioner Grant says between January 1, 2016 and February 4, 2017, 1,442 persons were arrested and charged for violent crimes against women. Of that number, 86 persons were held for shooting, 67 for murder, 252 for rape, 95 for aggravated assault, 280 for robbery, and another 202 persons for sexual offenses such as indecent assault.
For sexual intercourse with a person under the age of 16, we have arrested 237 persons. And of course, we have added property crimes such as break-in, and we have arrested 169 persons. Larceny, 54.
And still on tackling crime, Acting Commissioner of Police Novelet Grant is urging members of the public to report child abuse, including child pornography, to the police for investigation.
We want to encourage people who are being sent these videos to send them to Sisoka. Please forward them to Sisoka at jcf.gov.jm, and Sisoka will then pass them to the relevant unit within the JCF for investigation.
The Acting Commissioner's plea comes amid the growing phenomena of viral videos being circulated on social media platforms. She is also reminding the public that persons who are caught in possession of or have been circulating visual images of a sexual nature involving children can be prosecuted under the 2009 Child Pornography Act. Police Commissioner Grant, meanwhile, says the Jamaica Constabulary Force, with additional resources and manpower, will be expanding its task force that deals with child pornography. And the police will be bringing its public education campaign to schools so that vulnerable groups can reduce their risk of victimization.
Help the students, both boys and girls, to abstain from some of the behaviors that they are engaging in and videotaping and putting on social media.
In other news, the National Solid Waste Management Authority's environmental management efforts have been boosted with the receipt of 55 garbage skips worth $17 million. The skips were handed over on Friday by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, to be used in 30 communities across the island. The skips forms part of JSIF's $3.5 million integrated communities project, which seeks to carry out urban renewal in the identified communities.
And under that loan, we are going to see, and we are seeing, I should say, end-to-end process that started with community cleanups. Then we went and we trained and identified targeted community persons who could work within the communities, raising awareness, doing cleanups, and enforcing the matter of garbage collection and litter. And those persons, I stood right here more than a year ago to mark the graduation of the environmental wardens you see here. And we find that this program so far has been successful. many other communities that you drive through are clean.
Transport Minister Mike Henry says the state is taking concrete steps to develop Vernon Field into an aerotropolis, or center for the movement of goods and services across the world.
The aerotropolis is ready for investment. We have lead investors already in place. I'm going to China and Geneva and London to pursue this in relation to what can be developed, utilizing what we have already here, which is runways strong enough, large enough, long enough, and the position on the globe.
Minister Henry was addressing a recent diplomatic and consular corps function where he revealed that he was in talks with several countries interested in having their airplanes based in Jamaica. And finally, government will soon begin testing electric buses on bus routes in the Kingston metropolitan region. Portfolio Minister Mike Henry says discussions have already been finalized with Belgium to utilize the electric-powered buses.
I'm looking to see if we can put that in there and begin to get a couple of test electric buses to be able to run between Portmore and Kingston, which in larger numbers of persons, moving them to a center in Kingston at Pichon Street and moving on to the rest of the city.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Carrie Ann Smith. Thank you for watching.
We want a productive Jamaica. We are not productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
2017-2018 budget tabled, aspects of National Crime Plan revealed, and Interministerial Committee given 3 months to finalize a national emissions policy. Those were but some of the news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister this past week. Catch the highlights in today's edition of Jamaica House Weekly.
The government is announcing a zero-tolerance approach to domestic violence, to sexual abuse, and to the grooming of minors. The Cabinet gave instructions for an interministerial committee to work to develop a policy on emissions.
And
I want to encourage more companies to consider listing.
you're watching Jamaica House Weekly. Welcome.
Be careful which news you believe.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness urging Jamaicans to be skeptical of crime information being bandied about on social media. He said fake news has contributed to panic in the society on issues relating to gender-based crimes.
We have looked at several videotapes, postings that have been made about crimes to ensure that there is nothing being placed on social media which is a true crime which the police is not aware of. And up to yesterday, we have verified 2 videotapes of sexual abuse, sexual molestation, which have been circulated. And the response commissioner is that those 2 cases are now before the court. But from our estimates, anywhere from between 40 to 50% of what is circulated is not true.
The Prime Minister was speaking at a press conference unveiling aspects of the National Crime Plan to deal with violence against women and children. Among the actions, using existing laws to remove tints from public passenger vehicles, de-escalate domestic abuse situations by detaining aggressors, and initiate counseling and education sessions as a condition of bail for persons who've been held on domestic abuse charges. 400 police officers will be trained in conflict resolution and domestic violence issues, and the Domestic Violence Act will be strengthened with stiffer penalties for perpetrators. Prime Minister Holness also came down hard on sexual abuse, grooming of minors, and child pornography.
The threshold for discretion for prosecution has been lowered to 0. All crimes of this nature that comes into their knowing, into their knowledge, must be prosecuted.
Mr. Holness said he would also be engaging the country's international partners to get information on Jamaicans who have been deported for gender-based crimes so they can be placed on the sex offenders registry. And when he met with the diplomatic corps Tuesday, Prime Minister Holness called for partnership in stemming the flow of contraband, particularly small arms, into the island.
We do want the support of your countries in ensuring that the various treaties that surround the proliferation and trade in light and small weapons and light arms that have such a negative impact on countries like Jamaica, that those treaties are supported and indeed effected.
Prime Minister Holness also told the gathering that the country was working on an emissions policy.
I've told them that that has to come to the Cabinet in 3 months in draft form, and we hope to have it ready for the legislative process where that may be necessary by the end of this year.
Jamaica hosted its annual diplomatic week from February 5 to 10. Mr. Holness also attended a reception and tour for Jamaica's international partners at Devon House. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Holness recommitted his government to supporting the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises. He said though government's move to incentivize the junior stock exchange has resulted in the foregoing of some taxes, it has allowed companies to expand through investments.
The objective is to get you to grow, to employ more people, and to share the prosperity of your growth.
Mr. Holness was speaking at Wednesday's official listing of Main Event Entertainment Group Limited Company on the Junior Stock Exchange. Prime Minister Holness attended the ceremonial opening of Parliament for the 2017-2018 legislative year Thursday. His administration also tabled the estimates of expenditure in the House of Representatives, proposing to spend approximately $709.9 billion for the 2017-2018 financial year. The bulk of the money is for recurrent or housekeeping expenses, amounting to nearly $485 billion. This year's budget is a $117.25 billion increase over the last fiscal year. On Saturday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness journeyed to Western Jamaica to visit the family of slain 15-year-old Shanika Gray.
I want you to know that if there's anything at all that you need, anything I can do, I'm right here, I'm willing and available.
Back in Kingston Sunday, Mr. Holness feted the press with a media appreciation function held at Vale Royal. The Prime Minister found time last week to meet with representatives of UC Rusal Global Management. He was joined by Transport and Mining Minister Mike Henry at Tuesday's meeting. And that's how we close out Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
Violence against women and girls is a human problem, not just a woman's problem. It's a problem for men too. Gender violence takes many forms, including sexual assault, domestic violence, relationship abuse, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse of children. The magnitude of ongoing violence against women and children in our country is cause for alarm. We can end the violence. It requires all of us to end the violence. I call on all our men and women in Jamaica to take a stand. And men especially must get involved in this movement to create a better world for their daughters, their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their uncles, their fathers, their sons, and for themselves. Let's protect and reassure. Let's unite to end gender violence.
After Cabinet approved recommendations received from the National Security Council on Crime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness last week convened a press conference where he outlined ways the state would increase its effort in tackling crime.
too long, we have accepted violence as a means of resolving conflict. In fact, violence sometimes is the only tool that we know of as to how to resolve conflict. We use it in disciplining our children. We use it to resolve domestic disputes. We use it to resolve intimate disputes. We use it as a currency of social transaction. Violence is normalized behavior in Jamaica. But the cost of violence is now becoming clear that it cannot be tolerated anymore. Today, the government is announcing a zero-tolerance approach to domestic violence, to sexual abuse, and to the grooming of minors. We are also saying that the police must take a zero-tolerance approach with child pornography or crimes in which the act was videotaped and published, whether it is by the persons committing the act, the persons videotaping the act, or the persons circulating the act. We have trained over 400 policemen in conflict resolution and domestic abuse issues. We are planning this year to train an additional 400. I will be the first to tell you that I am not satisfied that the culture of sensitivity and understanding is pervasive in the police force as it relates to dealing with these matters. We reviewed the Domestic Violence Act, and we have concluded that this act should be revised, to be strengthened, to ensure that domestic abuse crimes are treated as serious crimes and attract serious penalties. The government has also decided to intensify our engagement with our international partners who send back Jamaicans. I mean, the term that is used, who deport Jamaicans to our shores, to ensure that those who are deported here, we have all information on these persons who are deported, particularly information regarding any issues to do with a sexual offense. We want to know if they had been arrested but not charged with a sexual offense. We want to know if a report was made against them. And we definitely want to know if they were entered into a sexual offense registry from the deporting country, which would mean that we would automatically enter this in our local sexual offense registry in Jamaica. This government has invested heavily in the capabilities to monitor not just traditional media, but social media. And it is clear that both traditional and social media thrive on each other. A phenomenon is occurring in social media, fake news. And that contributes to part of the panic that can be created by the heinous levels of crime and the nature of the crimes committed. I've asked the police to pay close attention to this. From our estimates, anywhere from between 40 to 50% of what is circulated is not true. So we advise the public that is consuming this information to always look at what is sent to you, what is published, with a sense of skepticism, but to check and double check. Ultimately, the success in crime fighting does not rely on the government alone. But I want you to know that the government takes its role very seriously. But the real role of government is to act. I am of the view that the time for talk is over. I am about action. We will talk after.
I say be careful what you teach your little children. Make sure I know something to hurt them.
Parents, keep your children safe and protected. Stay alert and be aware of where your children are at all times. Submit the latest photo of your child to his or her school. Know what's happening with your child. Listen to them when they say they don't feel comfortable going to a certain place or being around certain persons. Act quickly when your child tells you he or she has been touched inappropriately or approached with unwanted requests. Be the change. Help us protect our children. For more information, call 1-888-776-8328 or 1-876-878-2882. The police is intent on steering our children clear of a life of crime. Part of that intervention is a public education campaign on the ills of lottery scamming. Take a look.
We know why, now let us scam in ya. We know why, now let us scam in ya.
Wise up, you, myself, wise up, you. A scammer, you want me to turn? Me not take that to the world. Me not go use no digi. Nah, no line, becoming no fraudulent crime. Wise up, you, Mr. Wise up, you. It's better to learn the maths so you can get a good grade on your GSAT.
It's better to learn the communication tasks so it won't cause an alarm when someone you have to ask to fill out a simple form.
So guess what? Everybody read this to me now. Lottery scamming. Stop it before it stops you. Don't start.
This is really an intervention or an approach, a proactive approach that we are using to curb lottery scamming through social development. Because if we can get children to understand that lottery scamming is wrong and that it is a crime, right, then we will be starting a change.
Wise up, you, Mr. Wise up, you.
My girl, don't be a phone confederate. That's not what it means to be literate.
Use their knowledge, use their mind for the betterment of mankind. All of this is coming from my heart. So use education to play your part.
Get a good education. Stop lotto scamming before it stops you.
I want to ask you something this morning. Tell me, who wants to be scammed? Anybody here want to be scammed? No. That means you know what scamming is? Oh, you all know what scamming is? All right. Scamming is what? Tell me. It is stealing. You believe that? Of course, because it's not yours, and you call somebody, you know what they do when they scam? You call and you tell somebody that they win something. You know about that? When they didn't win anything, and you trick them and then you get them to send their money. It's not yours, so it is. It is stealing, and it is a trick, and it is pretending.
We know one, no let us scam in ya. Learn about and ability thing. Learn how to spell and they are reading. Pay attention when teacher teaching. Run go to school before the bell ring. We know one, let us scam in ya.
We are going to be targeting also the high schools and the community colleges. And we are also going to be targeting the parent-teachers associations, the parent-teachers meeting, because we have to spread the message. Lottery scamming is wrong. It's a crime.
How can we prevent scamming?
By not tricking people.
Oh, give it up for him. Give it up. Come on, give it up for him. Such a brilliant young man. We have one more question. I'm going to ask you to give a statement. If you should say something to the scammers in Montego Bay, what would you say?
They should not scam because it will make them go to jail.
I think it is the way forward, not only for our school community, but also for the nation.
I believe that the MOCA team is doing a good job And I would just like to encourage them to continue to go into more schools, as lottery scamming must be stopped. And it begins with the younger generation.
We know one, let us come in ya. If you want to be something that you see and who do him running, put on the phone, don't call Parin. When the law catch you, ding-a-ling-a-ling. Use up your hand and do the right thing. When result come, we know one, let us come in ya. We know one, let us come in ya. We know one, let us come in ya.
This is Romain Virgo. I'm here appeal to all of the youths them to just stay away from crime and violence. We know the temptation, the money, the fast life. People say them rate you. But that will only take you nowhere. If you stay in school and focus, then you can achieve anything. Be your own leader. A gang is a dead end.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
And that's how we sign off on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. We'd love to hear from you, so continue to send your comments and queries to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. You're also invited to visit our various social media platforms and our website for all the updates on things that are positively Jamaican. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.